sorry to make you aware of this issue. I was not aware of Buck Angel until one of the two of you guys had mentioned it a few years ago, and then I became aware of this thing. But now, funny enough, just this morning, somebody pointed out in the chat, like, oh yeah, Buck Angel is now like conservative icon. I was like, are you kidding me? So I went and looked at the Twitter. I was just reading through, and yeah, Buck Angel is making arguments against puberty blockers, making arguments in favor of, like, I don't know. The thing is, it's not clear what the argument is, that the positive argument putting forth. There's like this vague opposition to emotional abuse of the current trans community, and too much emphasis on kids and giving kids drugs.
Well, yeah, he's doing basically the Ron DeSantis anti-trans, where he's saying, like, wait till they're in 4th grade, please. You know,
actually, he's even a little bit more conservative than Ron DeSantis.
A little bit more. He's not
Ron DeSantis is more radical. Ron DeSantis is like, he's basically saying
he's not putting a line on it age-wise where Ron DeSantis is. Buck Angel's just saying, like, let them wait till they're grown-ups to become a sicko like me. And, but again, like, nobody's making the argument. These people are sickos, and all this has to be stopped completely. No one's saying.
There's people that would love that argument to be made, but they're not.
Right. The conservative establishment won't make that. Fox News won't do that.
Like,
there's nobody on talk radio that's going to do that.
It's kind of very
Jordan
similar.
Peterson won't even do that.
Here, let me explain this. It's kind of very similar to the idea where, like, if you like Brandon Sanderson, you'll just put up with the few scenes with this one gay character,
right?
Because you want to you like the novels and you like the story, and you want to just keep learning what's happening in the story he's built. It's kind of like Buck Angel. It's like, so you just put up with it. So since you're never given something totally satisfactory, you'll just accept what's out there. And so you want some critique. It's like you're starved for critique of the trans community. And there's nobody who's not, like, no normal white straight person can do it. And this is a stricture that even the Republicans and the conservatives will follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to get it, then they thrill when they have somebody who's a part of this so-called community that's like a turncoat, right? And a lot of people, there's always this tendency to like that. Like, I have these opinions. Look, even this person that's one of them has a critique of their community and how over the top they are. So now I've got legitimacy.
Yeah.
There's a legitimacy to this when somebody from their community comes and says, look, our community is shitty. And then, so then what you do, the problem with that is now you're centering them as the ones that have moral validity.
It's N-word pass politics, basically.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, it's worse than that, too, because you're also desensitizing people to this stuff. Like, oh, well,
right.
Buck Angel being a pornographic actress,
like a fetish porn actor that was doing fetish porn with like a muscular body with a vagina for people that are into really weird shit that is like so fucking disgusting that it's actually
fine and upstanding.
It is inherently like it's inherently just something. It really upsets me on a core level seeing that. I've never seen Buck Angel nude or anything like that, and the picture on the Twitter was like too close to it for me to even imagine, and I don't want to even think about it. It's like soul destroyingly awful to me, and so this shit is like has to be. But when you make it like this is now what you have to eat in order to, sorry to use that term, what you have to accept in order to have any criticism of this community at all, and it's just so typical of conservatives. Like, and it's particularly
conservatives be eating Buck Angel's pussy.
Particularly you just
as a revolutionary act.
You went and did that.
It's a revolutionary act.
It is particularly inherent in the Trumpist type movement.
Mm-hmm.
It is particularly inherent in that. Like, that is where they actually have normalized this shit mostly. And so at the same time they're doing that, we were talking last night, Warren and I were talking about all the stuff, all the arguments that we've been making that they are now like taking, dumbing them down, cleansing them of what they consider to be the bad stuff and presenting them in these really lame and shitty ways.
Right.
And, they're even doing, we were talking about the America First policy initiative.
Yeah,
they're even ripping off all that shit.
It just remind me of another thing. That's like the conservatives have stood up. So you know how we for years have been pushing the meme that homosexuality is just a cycle of child sex abuse. Like a fag is made through child sex. The fag grows up and he abuses a child and makes another fag, and it just goes on and on.
Cycle of abuse.
And it's so that sort of metastasized in the groomer meme recently. That we pushed that, like, groomer is sort of mainstream conservative, and now there's like anti-groomer gay conservative
there's gays against groomers. Right. And that's going to be be centered by the GOP.
Yeah, because they can't just make these arguments. So, like, how do you have this feeling that, like, all of your convictions and all of your principles are just morally just beneath everything else that's going on? So you argue this. I was like, why can't you just be
I'll explain how this works. I'll explain.
Well, this is how it works. That's presented that way so that you lose.
But it's not just that. The way it works is that you are never allowed to be the moral center of your own arguments.
Nope.
You as a white conservative are never allowed to be the moral agent. You're never allowed to be the one who can center themselves in what they want and their worldview as the legitimate thing. You have complaints and criticisms, but your complaints and criticisms can never be like, I have a worldview. I am a type of person. I have a view of how things should be, and I'm arguing from that and from my group. My people, me and people like me, are valid, legitimate people that should have a voice and should have the way we would like the world to be expressed politically. And we're going to use ourselves and what we want as the basis from which we argue. Never allowed to do that. So what you do is you don't like these things. You don't like the excesses, supposedly, of the Democrats, of the liberals, of the SJWs, of the woke, whatever you want to call it. You don't like them over-the-top stuff. But since you don't have any moral validity, and even conservatives teach you this, this is the main weakness. You yourself, as the white conservative, which is why we're not conservatives. We're white nationalists. I'm a white nationalist. I'm not a conservative because I have no problem putting white people first, and white people with conservative social values first and foremost as the center of what we're talking about, right? So for us, we also have no problem excluding. If you're trans, you are excluded, period. That's it. Done. Gay, excluded. You're not part of our thing. We don't accept you as part of it, and we center ourselves and what we think as the moral center and our views as the moral center of what we're doing. We don't need crossovers. Now, if you're like a person who's like an actual person, I don't care if you're like a Arab or even a black person that wants to make the same kind of points. You have to understand that we're still putting ourselves first. But I don't care if you're a person who's like a natural person that wants to make similar arguments to me. That's fine. But my point is, like, these freaks and shit like that, no. But the problem is because they will never center themselves. Anytime any freak deviant comes forward, and they do it with blacks too. They do it with anybody. They take, like, here, since I can't possibly have any moral validity because I'm a white conservative, here's a fucking chick built like a dude that does freak porn that, like, is totally the person I'm holding up now as the person making the right argument.
We have the usual playbook once again.
To the Daily Shower, as racist and sexist as they can be. We're gonna offend you, isn't it funny? La 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 la.